gonna prove? Who'll be bruised? What you need when you lie, it's a lesson that's got me reeling now. What you want, who is seeing when you lie, it's the message that's got me reeling now. What you want, what you need when you lie, it's a lesson that's got me reeling now. What you want, who is seeing when you lie, it's the message that's got me reeling now. Got me reeling now. Got me reeling. Got me reeling now. Got me reeling. Got me reeling now. Got me reeling. Got me reeling now.
Testing 1, 2. Huh, that's weird. Well, that was just disappointing. That was just completely disappointing. I mean, I do all that. I don't even know what's going to happen. I mean, my entire life is based on whether you guys, like me or not. So, and, thanks so much for watching The Lore Reloaded. Hey guys, check me out at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded, twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. Today, we are going to be talking about some fantastic stuff, which is to say, all of the stupid designs when it comes to specifically Star Trek ships. Beyond that, we got to say hi to Alex X, we got to say Bayard, Nathaniel M, Tyler's Tears, Codsworth the Fresh, which reminds me of, there's a dude who does cartoons that does like Fallout Unlimited or Fallout and uses Codsworth a lot. It's awesome. Love him. Aetherion, Dr. Charisma, Dark Pearl, Oratakwa Tingwa, Archangel, Catherine Berry. Always fun to see Catherine Berry out here. Nate Watson, Bad Wolf Gamer. And of course, it is not a party if Meredith isn't here. So what's up, Meredith? Hope you are doing well. Let's just jump into it. So What got me thinking about this, and of course we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, or go wherever we want to go. Death Scream, what's up in the house? But for me, what really got me thinking about this was the Klingon Cleave ship. How stupid is the Klingon Cleave ship? It is an absolutely ridiculous design, in my opinion. It serves very little to no purpose. I think that it is. I mean, I don't know. It is just for some reason just epically stupid. Deathscream's mom made him onions, so now he's crying. I mean, there is that. Etheron says, can we address the elephant in the room first? Namely, we carry around huge supplies of antimatter at all times to power our engines. That is indeed. Resurrected Starships up in the house. By the way, guys, if you haven't checked it out, Resurrected Starships, you definitely could. Even though he thinks that Klingon birds of prey were not originally made by Klingons. And apparently a lot of people use that as a resource and annoys the ever-living hell out of me. I gotta debunk that video. But he's a great channel. You guys should check him out. He says, cleave ship, more cleavage ship. Hey. I got 100% American Buffalo, Micah Leith up in his house. But yeah, and so I apologize. I haven't really gotten a lot of videos out, by the way, guys. It's been a rough week. I'm going to be going Twitch sometime soon talking about it with spirits involved. But
wow. What is on your face? Is that a disguise?
Excuse me.
Shout out to Jonathan Stevie for helping out. As always, that's how I keep the channel running. Good tip week, so tip share. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. But yeah, so I honestly, when it comes to stupid designs, the Cleave ship was just horrific. I think it serves very little purpose. It would be very hard to utilize it, especially when you look at all of the different ways that they could get around it. Most ships would be faster than what the Cleave ship could catch up with. But a lot of stupid designs, too, in my opinion, is when you look at TNG era designs. Specifically, the way the ships are utilized. I honestly don't... I think the Galaxy D, Crazy Air 29 becoming a lore master... I honestly think the Galaxy class, I like the D. Wow. I like the Galaxy class ship. I like the Enterprise D. But I do think that it's a bulky for what they want to use it for. And it doesn't come off as like a battle cruiser or anything like that. Unlike the original Enterprise. Unlike the original series class Enterprise. It didn't feel like it had the power or the might behind it, you know? The original Enterprise was a bigger target, like the Galaxy, but it felt like it had some power behind it. It felt like it was a ship of war, whereas they didn't make the Galaxy class feel that way, because again, it was more supposed to be peace, you know? Again, it's more like it's supposed to be the love boat. And it's interesting because when you move into Deep Space Nine, when you move into like First Contact era and things like that, they still make the ships big, but they scale them down and make them more adjustable for war and such. Tim Ash, why do Star Trek ships always have tiny necks? Would this not be huge structural weakness? Well, here's an interesting thing with that. In the original series, so I never really was a huge fan of the neck part either, right? Because I did think that it had it created a structural weakness, especially if you connected the bridge to everything else. That said, in the original series, weapons worked a lot differently. What I mean by that is that once your shields went down, once they were gone, then basically the ship could be destroyed. It could be absolutely taken out easily, especially on smaller ships like the Bird of Prey. So it really wouldn't matter how you make your ship, specifically for like connection pieces and stuff. Because if you're on a bird of prey and you lose your shields during the original series, you're dead. So that wasn't as huge an issue. The Enterprise the Constitution class ship could take a little bit more of a beating, so it didn't matter that much. It becomes a problem, though, I think, when in the Next Generation and even Deep Space Nine, when you lose your shields, you can still take hits like a champ. Not even counting the additional specialized armor that the Defiant had. And so there's a little bit more to it, I think. The original series made sense. I forget if Star Trek Enterprise probably stayed with TNG and DS9 when it comes to that kind of methodology. So the original series, it made sense. All else, it really doesn't. There are a lot of structural issues and inconsistencies, at least in my opinion. At Lore Reloaded, it's made pretty clear that at least Starfleet designs are dumb enough that without internal force fields holding it together, turning would break a ship at 1/4 impulse. Okay, I could see that. Yeah, we got Nate Watson pointing out the obvious. 70 people watching, 19 thumbs up, 1 thumb down. I mean, we got to have more thumbs down than that. Come on. I mean, what the hell is going on? So let me ask you this. What is the dumbest design? Let's remove the Cleave ship. What is, in your opinion, the dumbest design in all of Starfleet? And let's just Starfleet first, and then what's your next ship that's a non-Starfleet design? For me, the dumbest design, I know a lot of people are going to expect me to say Oberth. I'm not. The Oberth, honestly, shouldn't be a Starfleet ship. It is quite obviously a science vessel and not really meant for anything. I mean, it's a dumb design, even as a science ship, because there's no way to get from one part of it to the other. But when I'm thinking about probably the stupidest design, I guess it would be the Oberth, but I don't know. I'd have to think it through a little bit more too. Tim Ash, keep putting out good videos, brother. Hey, with support like you guys, I definitely will. There are quite a few ships though, and I'm just trying to think.
What is on your face? Is that a disguise?
Excuse me.
Resurrect starships. You don't like the Gagarin? I like the Gagarin. You know, I will say one thing. A lot of the ships in Discovery I like. I think they look really sleek, look really interesting. I don't think the Gagarin was that stupid. I think I have the Gagarin, don't I? I think this one's the Gagarin. Is that the Gagarin? I think it is. Might be wrong. That might not be the Gagarin, though. I don't know. I like the Gagarin, though. It's a pretty sleek ship. Oberth or Galaxy class. Dumbest in Starfleet. Michael Leith says Oberth or Galaxy class. Atheron says dumbest in Starfleet from a KSP player's perspective is probably the Galaxy. Because the hull sucks. Sure. Does anyone notice there's Subjective Neck talking right now? There's Subjective Neck? What? In my opinion, the Connie is the dumbest design. Why does Starfleet ships need open holes in the saucer? I don't know. I don't know. Why does it? The stupidest Federation ship is the Jaeger. The Gagarin is something... Oh, resurrected... Okay, so there's a ship that's called the Gagarin that's in Starship Discovery. Star Trek Discovery, not Starship Discovery. Star Trek Discovery. And it is a... it's not a crossfield. What the hell is it? See, now you're going to bug me. The USS Gagarin was a... Wait for it, Shepherd class ship. And it's a beautiful ship. I love the Gagarin. That's not the Gagarin, though. Where's my Gagarin class? I don't know. I have one, though. But I think a lot of the Discovery ships look beautiful. What's a non-Starfleet ship that you think is stupid? I'd have to say a lot of ships in the Delta Quadrant don't make a ton of sense to me, to be honest. I get where they're going with the Borg ships, but those seem kind of dumb, too. Especially once you're able to breach the Borg or cause once you're able to damage a Borg ship, those are some dumb designs. Like a Borg cube is huge. It is a massive target. if you can bypass the defense systems, and honestly, hear me out here. When you see a civilization that can bypass the defenses of the Borg get wasted. They get absolutely throttled and destroyed. Why? Because they make big, huge, bulky ships that are excellent targets. Are not designed at any point are not designed for combat defensively. So yeah, the stupid ring nacelle on all Vulcan ships. I agree. Those remind me of like Babylon 5, which is coming out on Tuesday, by the way. Video coming out on Tuesday. The USS Defiant doing anything scientific related. Yeah, they did some dumb stuff with it. Fine, I agree. What's going on, Serenity Fleet? Hope you're doing well this great day. Lore Reloaded, I'd say, Nate Wasson says, I'd say the dumbest ship was the generation ship Voyager encountered in The Disease. How did they manage to make that geometrically so unstable? The generation ship in The Disease. Generation ship, The Disease, Star Trek, Voyager. I don't remember what you're talking about. I'll have to take a look at it. The Disease episode. What generational ship? Huh. Yeah, that does have a lot of issues with it, doesn't it? I've forgotten that episode. Oh, that's the one where Harry gets the disease. Oh man, we need to do an episode on how horrible Janeway was to Harry. If that's the one I remember, he has a some kind of love affair with some chick, gets a disease, gets in trouble, gets it put on his permanent record, probably preventing him from ever commanding a ship. And you look at Paris, who has an affair with a woman who's married, gets blamed for murder, and still gets promoted. Oh man, God bless Janeway. That's why I make fun of him. That's why I make fun of him, and that's why I make fun of Harry and Janeway in my videos. The crystalline entity. I never even thought of that. But I mean, that's not really a ship. That's a living being, right? So, you can't get mad at the platypus. It is what it is. But you can get mad at the war canoe. Yeah. Do you like the Fusarius? I find it to be like a mini Death Star with balls on the outside. The Fusarius. I don't remember what the Fusarius is. I'd say the basic frame of the NX-01 is all right. Just needs to lots of tech installed they didn't have yet. The Acura follows the same core design and is good. Yeah, I hate that the Acura follows the design of the Enterprise, of the NX-01. I didn't like that because I'm a huge fan of the Acura, and now it takes away from the Acura. What's interesting to me, though, is the design of the NX-01. You know that little roll bar on the NX-01? That was to make it so that they would be able to go to Warp 5 and things like that, which I think is kind of I think that is a horrific design that you have that there, and if they take that out, you can't go to higher stages of warp. You would think they would have found a way to fix that. Lore, so sick and tired. Every time I mention a Worf show or a show about the Klingon Empire, people are against it. Well, I mean, I just don't think it's a good idea. I don't think people would like it, man. I mean, you're welcome to your opinion, but I personally don't like it at all. Would Tin Man, or the Gumpto, or however it's spelled, count as a stupid ship or a stupid space whale in your book? If it's alive, I really wouldn't count it as a ship myself. And yeah, Joshua Adam talking about the NX-01. It was a warp stabilizer, and it's just a huge target. I don't think that was a good idea at all. The Death Star with balls was TOS episode The Corbinite Maneuver. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was a pretty bad design. Honestly, you have to give it to them a little bit, though, because that's the original series. I give a little more because they didn't really have a ton of money, and it was made in the 60s. It's funny. A lot of people think that I want Discovery to be just like the 1960s relived or something. I don't necessarily. I'm not a huge fan of what they did in the 1960s when it comes to graphics and everything, the way the things looked. Like, for instance, maybe it was the Carbonite Maneuver, or it was the one with the advanced ship, the advanced computer that was taking on 4 other Constitution-class ships, and it was just so horrific. You could tell they were just repeating what the Enterprise looked like, and they weren't even doing it well. Maybe they were doing it well for the 60s, but they weren't. It was so badly done. How the studio, Sam Ronan says, how the studio people were pushing just to use the Akira model unmodified in Enterprise as well. And later sticking to the Kentinga class. One of my cats just fell off. That was funny. The Galaxy class has the most powerful phaser rays on both sides of the saucer. The Star Drive loses too much firepower, removing the saucer from the battle. In theory, it wasn't supposed to be that way. In theory, the drive section, the secondary hull, was supposed to be the most powerful part. It had all of the quantum torpedoes, and it was supposed to have a bunch of phaser arrays as well. They never really played it that way. This is one of the reasons why I don't look at the people who create the ships, who do the models and stuff. I'm not taking away from what they've done, or their abilities, or what they wanted it to happen. But the writers are the ones that get to decide what a ship does. And it was originally designed, so that saucer section was supposed to be pretty weak, right? But the way it was written, the way the story went, the way the ship evolved, the saucer section became pretty powerful. And as you said, you lose a great deal when you remove the saucer section. If it was supposed to work the way it was designed, that saucer section should have been gone every battle, every time. And they didn't do it because it didn't look as good, plus they'd have to pay more. So I kind of get why they didn't do it, but still. By the way, 84 people watching, only 38 thumbs up and 3 thumbs down. Come on. Come on. The Breen made dumbly asymmetrical design ships. Sure. I heard that the new warp scale was made because of transwarp. In fact, Death Scream, you may have heard that from one of my videos. I did a video on that. The worst vessel is Voyager shuttles because even Tom Paris can't land. And they get destroyed all of the time. Resurrected Starships talking. Agree, the NX class is an Akira with the nacelles upside down. They almost actually use the Akira in Enterprise, and the engineering section of the NX class seems very vulnerable. Not a big fan. Yeah, I mean, again, I love the Akira class. I'd love for the Akira class to be its own hero ship. But yeah, I don't know. Can't wait to see the ships in the new Picards here. Yeah, I'll be interested. Hopefully they don't go the JJ verse route. I have a feeling they're kind of going to. I know they said they're not, but I don't believe anything that they say. So Archangel says, well, time to take a shower. I'll be right back. All right, Arch, we will be waiting for you. We're actually going to pause. All right, guys, we're going to pause, and we're not going to talk about anything until Archangel returns. Just that's the way it's going to work, okay? That's the way. The main Cobra head phaser array is just as strong as both of the Galaxy main saucer phaser arrays. Here's an interesting piece to it. Here's kind of an interesting discussion, in my opinion. Most of all of the ships are supposed to be powered through the warp core. We know this from the original series on, and there has been dialogue in both TNG and Deep Space Nine to lead us to believe that the phasers are directly powered from the warp core itself. Now, the question becomes, when you do a saucer separation, how does that work? Do the phasers ultimately go away? Are they done for? Or is it powered through fusion reactors? How exactly does that work on a Galaxy-class ship? Imperious Gaming, hey Laura, hope I'm not too late to enjoy the stream. So has anyone already mentioned the biggest design flaw of most Starship ships being that their bridge is really easily targetable? Yeah, so no one's mentioned that, but here's kind of the point to it. Ultimately, the original designs in the original series was supposed to be the shields. As long as the shields were up, it would be fine. You really wouldn't take damage. Once a shield's dropped, you're basically dead. Anything that is below a Constitution class ship would be almost instantly destroyed. Just would. And so, and even a Constitution class ship, it wouldn't take too much before it was completely annihilated. And so it wouldn't matter where you put the bridge necessarily. because ultimately, once shields are gone, it doesn't matter. Now, that changed in TNG, and then from TNG on. TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, even Enterprise, and Discovery. But before, wherever the bridge was didn't matter as much, which is why I never really had an issue with it being on top in the original series. Moving from there, kind of. The terror, hey everybody, the terror of death has arrived, and now the party can get started.
The last thing I expected. Son.
Yep, the editor has finally arrived. So that is a positive. In space, there's no resistance or pressure, so you can have weird asymmetric designs and really thin bits, and it won't matter. Kind of. I mean, you still have pulls and stuff like that. It's really not that much, but you still have gravity and objects interacting with each other. But yeah, it's not like Earth's atmosphere or anything like that. 95 people watching, only 51 thumbs up. What is up, people? What is going on? Honestly, when I'm taking a look at weapon systems, I preferred the older designs of the original series, where you have this cat's name is Pumpkin, by the way. I prefer the original design where you had emitters and phasers that would actually charge up. So the power would feed into, and I forget, there's actual tech behind this that's in one of my breakdowns, but it would be stored in an area where the phaser energy would hold up, and then you could fire your phasers. Now, the advantage to this, and the reason why I think this is better, is that if you lose main power, then you're not screwed. There were a couple of times that the Constitution class had lost main power before the warp core was powered into it, had lost main power and could still fire weapons. Unfortunately, that changed when they started routing it directly through the warp core itself. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both, but I still think they should have had some kind of ability to save up the energy just as a backup in case you lose warp power, because that happens, especially in a Galaxy class. I mean, the thing just bumps into a speck of dirt and you have a warp core breach like almost instantly. Tomcat, 52nd thumbs up. Well, welcome to being the 52nd thumbs up, good sir. And I'm glad you recently subscribed. Welcome to the boat show. I don't even know what that means. The Legion Central Command in the episode Conundrum was a stupid-looking ship. Okay. It's Punkin, by the way. Punkin. To me, OG Romulan warbirds look cheap. So glad they evolved into the Dodera decks. Yeah, I mean, they were cheap. That's why they look cheap. It is surprising that the theme song for Crimson Tide fits the Starfleet Prime Cisco? What? Why does the Doomsday Machine look stupid? I never thought about that. The Doomsday Machine does look pretty stupid, doesn't it? Yeah, and it has the maw and everything like that. Where did the Doomsday Machine come from? That's been one I really don't have a ton in. Weren't they able to bring the Constellation weapons back online thanks to that buffer on the Constellation? The Constellation or the Constitution? Actually, all Bohr shares are stupid looking too. Cheap graphics, basic geometrical figures was... Well, we were talking about that beforehand. I don't know that it's cheap looking. I do think that the Borg, if you can bypass their defense systems, like the subspace fields and the Voyager shields. I hate that they gave them shields in Voyager. That is so stupid. But the subspace fields, for sure. If you can bypass the subspace fields, the ships are stupid. They are huge targets that would have issues running away. So I think it's ridiculous. The Xindi super weapon, which is basically a big sphere. I always wondered why they don't seem to use capacitors or batteries in Star Trek. They did have, maybe they were called capacitors. For a long time, the Constitution on all ships had capacitors or some way to save up the energy, and that's how they fought. What would happen is you would fire your phasers, and then you'd have to wait for them to re-energize or refill. The good thing about that is, again, if at any point you lost main power, any power still stored could be fired from the ship, which I think is a huge advantage. they started routing it directly from the warp core, which made the weapons infinitely more powerful. And I will give them that. The weapon systems were infinitely more powerful, but it came at the expense of saving up that energy. And I don't know why they could not continue that on. You could still power it through the warp core, but just have it constantly running into the capacitor or the storage bay and just consistently drawing it from the storage bay. It is technically an additional unnecessary step, but a very useful one if your systems go down. Sorry about that. My take on saucer separation of the Galaxy class. $10, Terror of Death. Thank you so much.
What are you? A monk?
Sorry about that. My take on the saucer separation of the Galaxy classes is that within the saucer has a separate power source. Also, the Doomsday Machine was made to fight the Borg. I know that's in beta canon, never been confirmed alpha canon. It'd be interesting if they finally confirmed that as alpha canon. But when it comes to Doomsday Machine fighting the Borg. But the secondary power system wouldn't be as powerful as the warp core itself. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't have it. They probably used fusion reactors or something of that nature. Something that would continuing to have impulse systems. We know that the saucer section can continue to fight. We saw it in Best of Both Worlds. Probably other places too. But yeah, I don't know. It would not be as powerful as it stayed connected for obvious reasons. What do you think of the Constellation class if a Defiant warp core was stuffed in to give it proper power supply? The Constellation... Let me... Star Trek Constellation class. Let me take a look at it. I have never been a huge... I knew that looked familiar. I have never been a huge fan of anything other than 2 nacelles, personally. I know a lot of people like them. I just don't think it really adds a lot. The only positive that I've ever been able to see, people have ever been able to convince me of, is that 4 warp nacelles would allow you to infinitely be at warp. So you could use 2 warp nacelles for whatever speed. And then once you would need to stop using warp, you just switch to the other 2 warp nacelles. And that way you could go for an infinite amount of time, as long as you had power. So I see the advantages of that. I've never really been a huge fan beyond that. What do I think of it when it comes to ship design and stuff? It honestly just looks to me like they added warp nacelles to add warp nacelles. The only ones that ever made any sense to me with multiple warp nacelles, more than 2, is the Prometheus class, which... By the by, my good friends, had 6 warp nacelles. A lot of people don't notice it, but in canon, on the screen, 6 warp nacelles. Go watch it, you'll see them. Heck, once they had the Defiant-style warp cores on hand, they should have been stuffing those in every Galaxy saucer. Yeah, I would say that they probably redid all of the warp cores. Why did Starfleet not bother putting a warp core in the Galaxy-class saucer section? If I was to be kind, I'd say they probably didn't have the technology or didn't know how to put it in there. They didn't really think about it when it comes from an out-of-character... I mean, the other thing I would say, probably, is that, again, TNG pacifism, TNG hubris, was the hubris of the ship. Of the way Starfleet looked at it, they didn't think that they needed it. Atherin, I thought the Prometheus forward section had only 1 nacelle. It does not. It has 2. When I did the Prometheus breakdown, I did a shot-by-shot watching of that episode. It has 1 on both the top and the bottom. It does definitively have 2. You also need 2 for the warp nacelles to work, so there would be no way other to do it, or the third one wouldn't be able to stay at warp. Kling Orc clunker ships totally makes sense. Coffins as armors can stop just any weapon. Yeah, I know that was done. They cannot create a warp bubble with 2 cores next to each other like that. Okay. I mean, I know there's rules to it. I didn't think that broke those rules. Maybe it does. I don't know. But that's the only advantage I could see. Hey, Lore, if you got to design a ship in the Star Trek universe, how would you design it, and would you pull inspiration from other sci-fi ships? I mean, honestly, I like. I'm not really good at designing ships, so I don't know that I would design ships. But if I was going to, it would probably be akin to Voyager, the Sovereign, or Prometheus. Those make the most amount of sense to me. Especially the Sovereign and the well, no, I like all three of them, honestly. I think that, especially for Starfleet. But yeah. Azrael Sword says, okay, it's time to watch the Prometheus video then. Yeah, watch it. It's there, I promise you. I watched it 2 or 3 times. Because I didn't think so either. But every resource I read said, a lot of people don't think that I look into this. I actually do a lot of research. Well, generally, I do a lot of research for the videos I look into. Like this, if you guys aren't on Twitter, you need to follow me on Twitter because I talk about it a lot. Francis Rod becoming a lore master. The conversation today about the Cardassian mad science and everything, I researched to the nines Nazi stuff to verify and make sure I was right when I said that they didn't really gain a lot of it. Unfortunately, I didn't know about Unit 731. I would have brought that up too. The Ship of the Dead and Discovery made no sense because Klingons do not collect their dead. They are only shells of the war. In theory, Jimmy 1985, that could have been that cult specifically. I wouldn't have had an issue if they made it more towards that cult. You could argue that maybe they were deeply religious and they did collect their dead, but after they lost the war in Discovery and were set back so far, they stopped doing stuff like that, I guess, maybe. The Discovery will always be the ugliest ship in all sci-fi, says Resolute Germ. So the yeah, I don't know where else I was going with that. What do you feel about the Olympic class in All Good Things? Let me see. Star Trek Olympic class starship. I mean, it's a medical ship, but there's not really a lot I can say about it. The Pastor, a lot of people think that's an Oberth class ship. I almost use that as an Oberth class. Thank God I do more research than most. The Olympic class, I guess, is fine. If it's a medical ship, I don't really see. It's not worth anything in combat. Which, given the problems with the Klingons, you would think they might have more, especially as souped up as the Dreadnought was. You think they'd add more to it. You know, again, I don't really necessarily have an issue. Does it look stupid? I don't know why you would design it that way. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would you put a circle or a sphere in front like that? I don't understand how the evolution of that would have occurred. Someone just said something and I missed it, but if it's a medical ship, you would want to maximize the amount of space, I guess, which I guess makes sense. Oh no, Kanajo Inika has had brain damage. Everyone hit F for Kanaja Inika, who has proven they have brain damage by saying the Serenity is uglier. So F to support Kanaja, whatever, in their time of need. I had the same idea. I want them to make an episode showing a human terrorist detonating an augment bomb on a Klingon and then saying that's why they don't collect their dead. Yeah. I mean, I could see that for sure. The Terror of Truth. Personally, I myself, again, helping out the channel, thank you so much. Personally, I myself prefer ship designs like Enterprise E and F, the Sovereign and Odyssey class ships, respectively, and the Luna class, aka the Titan. I prefer ship designs like the E and the F, the Enterprise E, the Sovereign, and the Odyssey. Yeah, I like the Sovereign. The Sovereign. The one thing I do like from Deep Space Nine into First Contact, it really feels like a natural evolution of ships. When you look at like the Miranda, the Galaxy class, then moving into the Defiant, the Intrepid, the Akura, the Sovereign.
What is on your face? Is that a disguise?
Excuse me.
Clown.
But I agree. I like that it feels like Starfleet has been in a war. And I want to say that's on purpose, you know? I do ultimately enjoy how they moved like that. When you move from like Discovery to the original series doesn't make a lot of sense when it comes to evolution of ships. The original series to TNG doesn't make a ton of sense, but it is explainable because it's 100 years or more apart, and ships you don't see the evolutions into what they became. But then TNG to Deep Space Nine, those advancements, and Deep Space Nine to First Contact, those advancements make a ton of sense. An absolute ton, in my opinion. So, yeah. But with that, guys, I kind of just want to come on and say hi. Things are going to get back. This week has been horrific. You know, I know you guys are getting tired of me talking about it, but due to some things that have been going on, all that culmination has happened. Again, I'll probably be talking about it on Twitch in the next few days, so be on twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. But now we're back to it. You're going to have videos every day, Monday through Friday for sure. At least one live stream a day. I'm hoping to do 2. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Sorry that this one's a little bit shorter, but I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we will be finishing up the uniforms. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded. Okay, just kidding. Got a quick one that I want to address because he said it. Jimmy 1985, the ships went back to analog technology in TOS from STD is because there was a cyber alien attack on Starfleet to stop hacking and it all became analog, dials, and tactile. That is as good an example, explanation as anything. Jimmy 1985, you win the internets. Congratulations. Internets, 1.